Hi, my name is Dr. Jeffrey Weiss. This is episode number 6 of Medicine Confidential. Today's title is Intent. Recently, I was in my car and I was honking at a woman in a car, and she looked at me and extended one of her digits. I assumed by this time that the cell phone that she left on the roof of a car is probably no longer there. She must have assumed I was hitting on her, but my days of hitting on anybody are long, long gone. I was trying to tell her the phone was on the roof of a car. If you saw somebody walking towards an empty elevator shaft, would you yell at them to stop? Hopefully you would. And hopefully the person, rather than saying something obscene to you or extending a digit, would want to know why. But the problem is that this has changed. During COVID, surveys were done, and one of the reasons that the US had such a high death rate, more than 1 million people in this country died from COVID, was because Americans don't trust other Americans and don't have a high opinion of other Americans, which is very sad. I knew people, friends of mine died from COVID, doctors, and in one particular case, the last words were, "I wish I wore a mask," but it's too late now. When you see a doctor and he recommends surgery, generally you get a second opinion. But this is the problem. That second opinion knows you want to hear you don't need surgery. And I've seen this many times. And they'll say, "No, you don't need it now. Come back again in a month." And then in a month you need it. He always knew you needed it, but he wanted to kind of rope you in. Or if I tell a patient there's a 98% chance the surgery will go well, and the next guy says, "Oh, 98, no, it's 100% it will go well." There was one particular doctor that used to do this all the time. I would say 95%, and he would say 100%. He wasn't my friend, so how do I know he was saying 100%? Well, because when he did the surgery and it failed, the patient came back to me and said, "But he said 100%. You believed him? If somebody comes up to your door and says, "Give me all your money and I'll double it," are you surprised that they disappear? Now, the problem is you as a patient can't identify who's telling the truth or not. You can't identify a good doctor or not. You can just do the best you can. It's like me assessing a lawyer or a car mechanic. You can't tell if he's honest or not. You just know he's nice. Well, you know the doctor's nice. As I said previously on a podcast, the 3 A's of medicine: availability, affability, and the last one is ability. Now, they don't mandate that somebody who's no good is an automatic airline pilot, because an airline wouldn't hire him. But a doctor, as long as he is out there with a license, can practice medicine. So just because you get a second opinion from somebody who agrees with what you want doesn't mean the first opinion was wrong. Maybe you should get a third opinion and try to go up in terms of quality. Try to go to a university. Not that they're better, but always. Sometimes they're not, but sometimes it's a question of odds. So that's very important because intent is very important. You have to know who is really looking out for you. I was at a particular hospital for years, and one day they came and said that they want to buy me a new operating microscope. Now, I was doing retinal surgery, so I'm looking through a microscope into your eye. And then I make holes in your eye, and I have tiny instruments, And the visualization is incredibly important. You can't fix what you can't see. Well, they brought in the new microscope and it was garbage. It looked like it was put together in a high school class. There were wires hanging off it and all this. And the attachment that allowed me to see to the periphery of the retina where the tears were, it wouldn't fit. And the person who brought it was sheepish. He knew. But apparently they were doing this at all their hospitals. And people didn't like it because they knew it was garbage. And it was a district hospital, and